Hello again. We're now on chapter 2 of the Spirituality and Aging class. What does wise eldering mean? Once we are intimately familiar with how we relate to our culture's ageism, both internally and in the world, we can more easily be aware of when our client or patient is exhibiting these same patterns. And we can turn our attention to becoming an elder ourselves. And I want to make it very clear, eldering doesn't have anything to do with age. I've known wise elders in all decades of life. I'm focusing on eldering as it relates to aging, but please translate to your own experience. There are obvious physical changes that occur with aging, and the sometimes slow, sometimes quick transitions in cognitive and physical ability. Are there any increased abilities as we age? Is Bateson right to say that extended longevity offers our species wisdom and empathy? The world's wisdom traditions have mapped out the process of human development by which we create our sense of self. Each level of this development has its own characteristic modes of knowing and identity, its own definition of what is self and what is not self. There are many ways to parse this progression. One psychological progression of a healthy human being I find helpful is summarized here. There's birth and early childhood, which is pre-personal, pre-egoic, and pre-rational. And then during adolescence and adulting, there's consciousness, there's an identity that is personal, egoic, irrational, differentiated, individuated. There's me and there's not me. And then, if we're lucky, eldering is a growing consciousness that is transpersonal, transrational, integrated, and whole. There's not just me and other, there's we. Any rite of passage, celebrated or not, consists of three broad categories: letting go, liminal space, and new beginnings. But this is seldom as effortless as it may sound. And that's because as a species, we tend to resist change. And the more the culture tells us about the right way to age, the more subtle the resistance can be, consciously or unconsciously. These rites of passage are detailed in Dr. Connie Zweig's book, The Inner Work of Age. I highly recommend you read this book. It is on your book list to read. I hope you do it. Aging has certain rites of passage associated with it. Though unlike other thresholds, we have very few cultural ceremonies or rituals associated with aging. Nevertheless, some of the rites of passage at any age might include retirement from paid work or shifting work priorities, completing emotional unfinished business, experiencing illness or fatigue in a body that doesn't heal as it once did, becoming less independent, which can be very vulnerable, and shifting focus to something deeper, that which has inherent value that doesn't depend on our productivity, our accomplishments, or our self-image. Have you passed through any of these rites of passage? Can you think of other late-stage rites? I'm going to pause the video here for a moment, and you please pause the video as well, and just write briefly some of the rites of passage you have been through. Welcome back. When serving the older community, it's wonderful to be able to discuss aging in terms of rites or passage or aging to saging. But first, a few caveats. Caveat number one, the people I worked with in a California continuing care facility mostly came from privilege. Their physical and safety needs were taken care of by staff. And because it was a community, most residents, though not everyone, found some sense of connection there. I now work in rural Maine, and this is seldom the case. It is often not possible for folks to engage in soul work when they don't have enough wood for the winter or live isolated on a back road. You might get there in your conversations, but it's a whole lot harder. Caveat number 2. While almost all who are in the last part of their lives share many issues and concerns, there can be specific considerations you may not notice or understand at first. To take just one example, how does sexual preference and gender identity inform the aging process? The gay men I came of age with were dealing with a lot of homophobia, internal and external. They may know how to hide their feelings in a way that queer folk today are unaccustomed to. If they lived through the heyday of the HIV crisis, they may have a well-deserved fear of the medical establishment. Or they may be on many HIV meds and unsure how a new prescription might be counterindicated. In other words, it's not just age. You are meeting a complex human being. As you read through this list of contributing factors, what other factors can you think of? So this is a journaling opportunity. What transitions are you currently encountering in your life? And does this transition feel like a rite of passage? Is there a way in which this transition is an act of eldering? And yes, I hope each of you write that you are in school and ordination will be a huge rite of passage. So please take some time now and journal. And we'll start with chapter 3 on the next video.